AJ Lee. It's been rumored for weeks that AJ Lee would make her return to the WWE, and after teases constantly, especially after this feud with CM Punk and Seth Rollins have really escalated, with Becky Lynch entering the picture, helping her husband retain the title at Clash at the Castle, slapping CM Punk in the face on Raw, saying all these things to Punk on Raw. It all escalated tonight here in Chicago. Oh my God. I cannot believe this. And I gotta say, I thought when they were still out in Paris on Raw that would be a good time for her to come out. But the fact that they waited till Chicago, CM Punk's hometown, to have her come out, that was just phenomenal. Like I gotta say, this was amazing. AJ Lee, who we have not seen, who has not wrestled since WrestleMania 31, when she teamed up with Paige against the Bella Twins in a tag team match, which was AJ's final match. And then she retired because she had a neck injury, some injury she was dealing with, so she ended up retiring. Um, so that was her final match, and she hasn't wrestled since. But for a long time now, it's been this constant wonder, like, is she going to show up at the Rumble? Is she going to make a surprise appearance? And for a while, it seemed like it wasn't going to happen. Like she was pretty content being retired. Like she was pretty, because of the neck injury, because she had a pretty severe neck injury, and it just didn't seem like she wanted to wrestle again. And it was always just this hope that she would come back at some point. But it was like, well, if she's happy to be retired, she's happy to be retired. CM Punk hasn't strayed away from mentioning her since he's come back, calling her by her real name, April. Saying how he hasn't been shy away from mentioning her sometimes on Raw. But this was amazing how this was set up, because Seth Rollins comes out and he welcomes his wife, Becky Lynch. He's standing in the crowd, kind of near the skybox, like in that area, and he, welcomes his wife to come in. Then Becky Lynch, well, first of all, when Seth Rollins comes out, he's getting massive heat. Like, this is probably the most heat Seth have had since, he's turned back heel, especially with the fans constantly cheering his theme song and stuff. But you figure with them being in Chicago, if there was any time he was going to get some heat, it would be here in Chicago. So this is probably the most heat Seth Rollins has gotten. And his wife, they let her have it too. Because when she came out, she got massive heat. And, the crowd was just really booing. Becky could barely get out a sentence. She was saying how all the sports teams sucks, booing the sports teams. When she first came out, they were cheering AJ Lee. She's like, how dare you cheer another person's name, while I'm out here calling herself the greatest, women's champion, the greatest, of all time. Said she was greater. She said Sports Illustrated said it. And, Becky definitely played her part in this, and the crowd was just booing her. And then CM Punk comes out, and she tells him, aren't you embarrassed about what happened on Raw? Like, you shouldn't even be here. And he tells her, like, this is not about you, but this is about your coward of a husband, who's hiding, with the fans and stuff. He's like, it's not about you. And then she keeps, trying to push the bear. And ultimately, he tells her, like, you don't think I have friends? You don't think I have my sisters that could come out here and do something to you? You know, with a snap of a finger here in Chicago, he mentioned Bailey, which I thought that was interesting. He said Bailey, especially with the character change she's going through. And then, plus Bailey's not even from Chicago. And then he mentioned, the first thing he said was, though, let the fans say AJ Lee. And so it was pretty obvious once when she started slapping him, he said, I tried to warn you, I would never hit a woman, but thankfully I know someone who will. and then AJ Lee music came out, and the crowd was on fire. Like this, I was thinking that you know I was thinking that maybe they could have done this on Raw, but this was perfect to do it right in CM Punk's hometown to have AJ Lee come out. I mean, the crowd was already chanting her name before she came out, but when she came out, it was just thunderous. And what's even more interesting is that AJ is basically still doing the same character that she did, previously. The character that's a little crazy, as far as like how she skipped out coming to the ring. She, came out very similar to how she did, skipping around like she did before. That's what made her synonymous at that time, especially when she broke away, when Daniel Bryan at the time had broke up with her in storyline. Like that was really when she started doing that character, and it really got over, because she was with him, and then all of a sudden she was just like all over the place. Like she, after Daniel Bryan, you know, left away from her, then she was at one point she was with Cena, then she was trying to get with Punk, and maybe that's how they got together in real life, when that was going on. But then she even tried to get with Kang at one point, and eventually she won her first. At that time, they were calling it the Divas Championship. She beat Caitlyn for it back in 2013, and she ended up winning that title three times. Her last title ring, the one that she had, actually not her last one, but I would say like her second title ring was probably her longest one that she had, because that was a title that she kept all the way up until the night after WrestleMania 30, where she dropped it to Paige on Raw. But yeah, she definitely, it's definitely a lot of history with her. Um, you know, during the time of her being champion and everything, because she won it three times, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was amazing, seeing her come back and just Punk's reaction, the live crowd's reaction, it was perfect. And it's nice to see, with Becky joining her husband, the stable of his division, and now with AJ Lee coming to the mix, if we're gonna get a mixed tag at WrestlePalooza, or maybe they'll just do Becky versus AJ Lee, which is a big match because I don't think they've ever wrestled. Even though Becky was in WWE when AJ Lee retired, at that time Becky was still in NXT, if I'm not mistaken. She hadn't been called. She didn't get called up until later in 2015. So like a couple of months later, she got called up. But at that time, Becky was still in NXT when AJ Lee retired. And even like during the peak of AJ Lee's title reigns, especially like her last two, because I know her last title reign was the one where she beat Paige in a rematch. Well, actually, it wasn't a rematch, but it was like the third match against each other because Paige won the title back. So she lost the title to Paige, and then I think, and then she won the title back um, a little bit later. And then it was like when she came, because after Paige beat her, she was like gone for several months, and then she came back and won the title from Paige, and then Paige took the title back from her at like SummerSlam that year. So they were like trading the belts back and forth. That's kind of how that went, and so um, like I said, yeah, it's just kind of crazy when you think about it. Because I remember she dropped the belt to Nikki Bella at TLC that year of 2014. I think when she officially like dropped the belt, like her final in her last ring. But but yeah, it's just like I said, it's great to see her back, especially to add some spice to the scene because this Punk and Seth thing's been going on for a long time now. It definitely needs to end at some point. They've been feuding really since last year, but it's just the fact that because Punk got hurt, his feud kind of transitioned to Drew McIntyre for most of last year. But they still been kind of on and off since last year, going into this year. So even though their first match against each other wasn't until the first Raw of Netflix early this year in January, I think that was January the 6th that they had that match. I think, or no, maybe it was the other one, um, but yeah, like I said, it's really great to see her back. I mean, you had other stuff happening in the show like CM Punk, John Cena's final match on SmackDown. Uh, Sami Zayn was getting a lot of boos for that match. I mean, I guess you would expect that because actually he was getting boos before the match even started when he first came out. After Cena was thanking the fans and stuff and said he just wanted to have fun and challenge them to a full circle moment, against them. Um, just like how he answered his open challenge 10 years ago. So I thought that was cool why they did the full circle moment. Ultimately, the match was really good, but it ended in no contest when Brock Lesnar came and took them both out. But you also had Julia retain the United States title um, against Meacham. I'm not really sure what else happened on the show because I didn't see it live, but I was just kind of looking at the highlights. But yeah, I mainly just wanted to talk about the last segment though because it's really good seeing AJ Lee back. It really is. So, uh, you know, I just hope they do this match with her and Becky, and they can kind of eventually tie the knot with CM Punk and Seth. But it's definitely added some spice to this because they've been feuding for so long now, and it only made sense to have AJ Lee get involved with Seth Rollins having his wife in his stable now. To have her AJ Lee come back and get involved, it only makes all the sense in the world. So looking forward to it because, like I said, I'm pretty sure they've never wrestled each other in any capacity because when AJ Lee was in her peak, like Becky Lynch was still in NXT at the time. Um, she was with the company, she just was in NXT at the time. Same thing for Bayley. Um, Although I do think her and Bayley may have crossed paths, but I really don't think her and Becky's ever faced. Like, because literally, that whole time she was still in NXT, and it wasn't until later in the year that she came to the main roster. So, I could be wrong on that. Somebody probably may know better than me. And if they did wrestle, it's still not like the Becky of today. It's like the other version of Becky. Not even the underdog version either, but like, when she first came out version, when she looked completely different as far as the hairstyle and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So that's pretty much it, guys. I don't really Mr. Flex because it's crowded out. Talk to you guys in a peace.